When playing pass defense, oftentimes cornerbacks are left on an island all by themselves, and if they're good enough, they can have an island named just after them. However, all cornerbacks aren't good enough to have their own island, and in this video I'm going to show you the number one defense that all Madden players play and why you're absolutely doing it wrong. And without further ado, class is now in session.
Just coming. Carr puts some air under it. Wide open is Rhodes for the touchdown. Just incredible. This is simple. You're going to stutter it, and then you're going to go. And Lamar Jackson, he just stops his feet. And that's just situational awareness. You know, look, Henry Ruggs runs forward.
There's a certain mano-a-mano when it comes to playing the cornerback position, one of the few positions in football where you're absolutely playing against the guy standing across from your face. When you're playing man-to-man defense, there's no one else out there but you and the man across from you, and it all comes down to, are you better than him on that play? This year, all Madden players are playing man-to-man defense more than ever. But I can't tell you how many times I see people playing man-to-man defense all wrong, and in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how you're playing it wrong and how you can fix it. But before I go deep into this video, first I want to say, if you like this video, please like, share, comment. If you have any questions or any suggestions, I'd love to hear it. Go ahead and subscribe and hit the bell notification icon so you never miss any of our videos. Looking forward to it, and I appreciate your support. Now let me first tell you the pros and the cons of playing man-to-man defense. The pros: every receiver, running back, and tight end are going to be matched up in the route, so you shouldn't have anybody slipping wide open. Another pro is the quarterback has to throw in the tighter windows, so it puts pressure on the quarterback to make an accurate throw. Another pro is the quarterback has to make quick decisions, or they'll feel the pressure and get sacked. The cons of playing man-to-man coverage. Man-to-man coverage is strictly based on matchups, how good your cornerback is compared to how good their receivers are. So with that said, man-to-man defense is never guaranteed from one play to the next. On each play, especially if your cornerbacks and receivers are pretty even, they can be very different whether you win or lose on that particular play. Another con for man-to-man defense is that it's very vulnerable to mobile quarterbacks because the defenders' backs are turned chasing the wide receivers, leaving the field wide open for quarterbacks to run. Next, man-to-man defense also puts your cornerback on an island like we talked about before, leaving the field wide open by themselves, and if the receiver catches the ball and they're not able to make a tackle, then it could potentially be a big play. And last, man-to-man defense is also easy to identify. The offense can put a man in motion pre-snap to identify the defense, or post-snap, they can see the man-to-man defense a lot easier than they could zone coverage. Mixing in man-to-man coverage along with zone coverage, as we spoke about in previous videos, can confuse the offense, causing the quarterback to hold the ball a little bit longer than he wants to. This will give the defensive line time to put more pressure on the quarterback. Now, the last thing I'll say before we deep dive into the actual man coverages, an easy way to help your quarterback in man-to-man defense is to develop a really good defensive line. The more pressure you can cause with the 3 or 4 players on the defensive line, the better your man coverage will be. Next, we're going to talk about the 3 basic man-to-man coverage defensive schemes that you need to know and how to make them work for you and your defense. The 3 man-to-man defensive schemes are cover 0, cover 1 man, and cover 2 man. Now, the numbers in these coverages stand for the number of safeties that are there to help your cornerbacks. So with that said, cover 0 means there are no safeties to help. You either have a man or you're either blitzing the quarterback. So as you can see in this defense, if you don't have a man, you're going to blitz the quarterback. Also, if your man stays in the block, then you're also going to blitz the quarterback. The cornerbacks in this coverage are keeping an even balanced leverage right in front of the receivers. They're not shading to one side or the other, and they're playing the wide receiver straight up. This coverage is the biggest risk, biggest reward of any of the man coverages because there's no safety help. Next, cover one means that there is one safety not playing man coverage and is there to help the cornerbacks in the deep middle of the field in between the numbers. So everyone else is either blitzing the quarterback or checking someone in man-to-man except for the deep safety. Now here's a bonus strategy. If you have an extra player on your defense that doesn't have a man responsibility, you have a couple of options of what you can do with that player. He can play zone in the short middle of the field underneath the safety, he can blitz the quarterback, or he can spy the quarterback just in case that quarterback tries to run. This is a good option, especially if you play against mobile quarterbacks. Now the cornerbacks in the cover one defense are playing what we call outside leverage, meaning that they're not letting the receiver get to their outside shoulder, therefore pushing the receiver back into the safety or linebacker help. In Madden, in order for you to have your cornerbacks play outside leverage, you want to press the triangle on the PlayStation or the Y button if you're playing Xbox to set your coverage adjustments. Once your coverage adjustments come up, then you will move your right analog stick to the right, and this will place your cornerbacks in an outside leverage, giving them a better chance of leading your receiver to the help coverage. So if the receiver runs a deep post or a deep in route, you're leading them directly into the deep safety. If their receiver runs a corner route or an out route, then you're in better leverage to coverage that particular route. Once again, it's based solely on matchups, how good your cornerback is compared to how good their wide receivers are. Now the last coverage that we're going to go over is cover two man. Cover two man has two deep safeties covering the deep half of the field. The hole in this defense is the deep middle, so the cornerbacks will want to play inside leverage, not allowing the receiver an easy access to the inside of the field. In order to play inside leverage on Madden, pre-snap, you'll want to press the triangle if you're on PlayStation or the Y button if you're on Xbox, and once the coverage adjustments come up, then you'll press the left analog stick to the right. And once you do that, you'll see the cornerbacks make the proper adjustments, taking a step inside. This will make it harder for their receivers to run the in routes and the deep post routes. Using the inside leverage will make your cornerbacks more susceptible for the deep out routes and the corner routes. However, you do have safety help over the top, so you don't have to worry about getting beat deep to the outside. Using the proper leverage can be the difference on playing tight coverage or letting your receiver run around open for a touchdown. Next, we're going to talk about to press or not to press. That is the question. In the NFL, cornerbacks have 5 yards to bump the wide receiver and knock them off the course of their route. This technique is called the bump and run. You're going to bump the wide receiver and then run alongside of them. In Madden, to press or bump your wide receiver, you would press the triangle on the PlayStation or Y on the Xbox and then press down on the left analog. This brings your cornerbacks down within 5 yards of line of scrimmage and they're able to press or bump their wide receivers. To press or to bump is a technique that is strictly based on the individual attributes. A cornerback's ability to press versus the individual wide receiver's ability to release from the line of scrimmage. So you should make sure to look at the individual attributes between the cornerback and the receiver that they're matching up with before you decide to press. If they are even, then you don't know which down their cornerback will win the press. They may win some, they may lose some. But if they lose the press, it could be devastating if you don't have safety help. So there are two places that you can check a cornerback's ability to press versus a receiver's ability to release. One is on the field and the other is in the depth chart. In the depth chart for the receiver, you're going to look here at the release attribute. What release means is how well they can release into the route off the line of scrimmage when they're getting bumped or pressed. For the cornerback, you want to look here at the press attribute. This is how well they'll be able to press the receiver without getting too far behind in the route. This is what it looks like when they lose the press, and this is what it looks like when they win the press. As you can see here, when they lose the press, they get beat pretty quickly, and now they're trailing the receiver, and the receiver can go pretty much anywhere he wants to go without any resistance. However, When they win the press, it takes the receiver a lot longer to get off the line of scrimmage, and they have disrupted their route, and they're usually on them the whole time, making it harder for the receiver to separate. The second place that you can look up for the individual matchups is during pre-snap on the field. If you click the L2 button on the PlayStation or the left trigger on the Xbox, you will bring up the Madden matchup. As you can see at the bottom of the screen, each skill player is listed here. Using the right analog stick, you can point to the receiver, tight end, or running back that you want to look at for their individual matchups. Knowing what your individual matchups are will help big time when coming up with your man-to-man strategy. The press bail technique. When the cornerback comes up to the line of scrimmage like he's going to press the wide receiver, but he doesn't and falls back into coverage without pressing, this is called the press bail technique. This technique is great to confuse your quarterback into thinking that his wide receivers are going to be pressed at the line of scrimmage, therefore calling the wrong route adjustment and giving your cornerback an advantage. For example, if my cornerbacks come up to press, it's a 50-50 chance I lose on the press. If the quarterback thinks his wide receiver is going to win on the release, especially with no safety help, he could send the wide receiver on a deep route straight up the field or on a post route for a big play. But if I press bail and the quarterback makes the adjustment to send the wide receiver on a deep route, then my cornerback is now in better position to cover the deep route, and at this point the matchup is strictly based on speed. On Madden, in order to execute the press bail technique, you have to press triangle on the PlayStation or Y on the Xbox to bring up the coverage adjustments. Then press down on the left analog to bring the cornerbacks up to press. Then you will want to bring up the coverage adjustments again with triangle or Y, and press up on the right analog to play over the top. Here's a side-by-side of if you press and lose versus if you fake the press and play over the top of a deep route. You want to mix up your press coverage and press bail techniques to keep the quarterback off balance when playing man-to-man coverage. The last bonus tip I'm going to give you in this video is the number one adjustment that most Madden players don't make when playing man-to-man defense, and that's making sure your cornerbacks are matched up with the right wide receiver. Sounds easy enough, right? Well, remember, playing man-to-man is based solely on matchups, and Madden makes it easy for you to match up properly with the wide receiver on offense. Now here's how you set your matchups before the play starts, and I recommend you doing this at the beginning of the game because once you do it, it won't change until you adjust it again. You can go to your coaching adjustments here. I'm going to make a whole separate video on coaching adjustments and strategy alone. However, I'm just going to point out the one coaching adjustment here, which is the cornerbacks matchup geared to the man-to-man defense. Once you're in coaching adjustments, scroll down where you can see the cornerback matchups. Here you can make your adjustments accordingly. Balance means your cornerbacks will stay on the same side of the field and man up on the closest wide receiver regardless of overall or speed. By overall means highest rated cornerback will match up versus the highest rated wide receiver no matter where they are on the field. So if the offense tries to put their number one wide receiver in the slot, your best cornerback will follow that receiver in the slot and play man-to-man defense in the slot no matter where they are. By speed means your fastest cornerback will match up against their fastest receiver. This is really important when you're playing against someone like a Tyreek Hill or Henry Ruggs or someone like that. Your opponent likes to throw the deep ball and your fastest cornerback will be able to run with them. By height means your tallest cornerback will match up against their tallest receiver. This is really good strategy when you're inside the red zone dealing with those big physical receivers. By route running means your highest rated man cover corner will match up against their highest rated route running receiver. This is important just in case your best cornerback specializes in zone coverage, so that you can put your best man cover cornerback on their best route running wide receiver. By depth chart means if you have specific players on your depth chart that you want to play in a game that may not be as good overall as someone may be an older player, then you can match them up by depth chart against the overall rating of the other receivers. So for example, If you look right here at this particular player on my depth chart, he's younger, but he isn't as overall as good as the older player. But I want to develop the younger player and put him in the game, so if I match up by depth chart, then this makes sure he's in the game and not the older player. So in conclusion, making these man-to-man adjustments will make your man-to-man defense that much better. Also, keep in mind to mix up your defenses between man and zone, press coverage, and press bail to confuse the opposing quarterback. As always, if you like this video, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Press the bell notification icon to make sure you never miss a video. And if you have any other video suggestions, please comment below and let me know what you want to see. So for now, class dismiss.